Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking about you and your business. We've been in one of the worst economies since the Great Depression. You know, unemployment's still at incredible highs, over 20 million. And nonprofits, really, a lot of them, unless they're huge major ones like the Red Cross and, you know, Salvation Army, a lot of these nonprofits have really taken it on the chin because there's just a lot of hangover when it comes to helping nonprofits because there seems to be so many different needs. And so nonprofits need help, and I've been focusing somewhat on organizations that help nonprofits, which is exactly what we're doing on today's programs. Got Cynthia Remec. She is with a group called boardassist.org, and they're very involved. Their clients are, and they're a nonprofit themselves, and their clients are nonprofits. Welcome to the program.
Well, thanks so much for having me, and thanks so much for caring about the plight of the nonprofit community in this country right now. You know, that is one of the first things that people cut back when the economy heads south is the amount of support that they show local nonprofits. And so thank you for calling attention to the fact that the nonprofit community is very much indeed in need right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of give us your elevator speech.
So Board Assist is the leading nonprofit board matching service in the country. What we do is we look for people who could be a high-impact agent of change on the boards that they join, and we then try to plug them in with something that's going to matter enough to them that they're going to give a lot of their time and energy and be that agent of change. One of the things we're very proud of is we poll every year to see how the matches that we have affected are doing. And in our summer poll of this past year, we found that 93% of the people that we had placed on boards were serving as leaders within 12 months of being placed. So that's our mantra. Our mission is to bring intellectual capital to the nonprofit community. And I think if people understand that there's a way for them to join a board and really do something other than function as what we would consider an ATM machine, just write checks,
right.
People would be more excited about board service. So, you know, our big mission, and we're so glad that you're giving us a chance to talk about this, is to make people understand if you pick the right board, you absolutely will have an opportunity to do more than write checks and more than just function as an ATM machine. But the process is really important as you think about what board you might want to join, so that you find that place that's going to be a good fit for you.
I notice it says here in the background information that you're in New York, but you're really all over the country?
Yes, so the boards that we work with typically do meet in New York, but they serve locally, nationally, and internationally. So if there's somebody down in Texas who's really interested in serving on a national board, they may have to call into the board meet because it might be something that meets in Washington or California. We don't have anyone that's meeting in Texas at this point, but they serve locally, nationally, internationally. So we have boards that are serving in Afghanistan. We have boards that are serving in Mali, just all over the place.
Yeah, and so tell me about then how has your organization received support? Easy for me to say. How do you receive support?
Right. So we're very lucky. We run a very lean model so that we don't need a lot of funding. But most of the funding comes from foundations that support their grantees happen to be our clients. So it's not on a direct basis. It's more there'll be some large foundation. Let's say it's the Ford Foundation, although we don't to date receive money from them. And they'll have been funding some really terrific organization in Dallas. We'll have come in and help that organization find them 3 great board members. And at the end of the year, when they sit down for their annual grant meeting with the Ford Foundation will say, wow, you guys are operating in the red the last 5 years. All of a sudden, you're operating in the black. What changed? And they'll say, we found these 3 great people from Board Assist. So if foundations hear our name enough from their grantees who we're helping, they'll make us a grant.
Interesting. So you're kind of a matchmaking service between people interested in serving on nonprofit boards and the nonprofits themselves.
Exactly.
Interesting. So what are some of the boards that you help? What are some of the organizations you help?
We help everyone from really large names like the Red Cross that you mentioned at the beginning.
Which is a great group, by the way. And I support them, it seems like a few times every year, because they're on the front lines of some of the most important battles going on from nature itself.
Oh, I mean, they really have their hands full, and they do a great job. And they actually went through a very interesting board reorganization a few years ago, where they cut the board from I think it was 40 people down to 8.
Wow.
And that's actually an important thing to highlight for your listeners. When you're joining a board, if you want to make sure you're joining a board where you can engage, take a look at how many people are on that board, because in general, the larger the board gets, the less it's a board where people are really hands-on, and more of a board where people are writing checks.
Right.
There is, if you go on our website, which, as you said earlier, is boardassist.org. On every page of it, you can download for free our book called Giving Back, which walks you through all the things that you should think about before you join a board, so that you find one that's a great fit where you're not just writing checks.
Right, and you were naming some of the boards. I interrupted you because I didn't want to give the impression that I somehow thought less of the Red Cross. They just seem naturally able to raise a lot of money simply because the news are constantly talking about them. What are some of the other groups that you're helping out in that respect?
So we work with everything from charter schools. Charter schools are a big thing around the country right now. A lot of people are interested in charter school boards. We work with, I was mentioning Afghanistan before, we work with an organization that's helping farmers in Afghanistan become economically self-sufficient. We work with a group in Cambodia that's teaching the farmers how better to irrigate their crops so that they can become more profitable. We work with a group called Handcrafting Justice. That's a fabulous group in, I believe it's 11 or 13 developing countries around the world that's helping women gain economic independence through selling their handicrafts on the Internet. We work with, hospitals and homeless shelters and diseases like Alzheimer's and leukemia. It's really a great range of organizations. We really have something for everyone.
Cynthia, thanks so much for being with us. Cynthia Remec, she's executive director of a great organization out there making a difference in the lives of many. It's called boardassist.org. And you know what? I'm sure she'd be glad to talk to nonprofits here in Houston that are looking for that kind of help. And if you are someone who is interested in making a bigger impact on the larger society out there, you might want to call and make yourself available to the boards. Boardassist.org. Cynthia, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks so much for your time today.
You bet. When we come back, much more for you. Do want to remind you, best content here shows up over there at usdailyreview.com.